Good morning, everyone. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here today. I love to title this presentation, G's That Escalated Quickly, because I like to talk about things that we never get to talk about in public, such as race, class, and gender, and how it impacts our work with all of our youth that we serve, right? All right, so these are the professional learning goals today. I just really want us to have a conversation about race, class, gender, privilege, all the things that we don't get to have a conversation about, or we don't get to have a conversation about outside of in our homes. And then I want to talk about how we can use cultures and our subcultures to, impact social change, to go back and make sure that we're change agents and we are helping our kids be change agents as well. All right? And why do we want to do that? Because we want to make sure that our students have skills to become social agents. So here goes Patricia's definition of culture. Culture is how we do things around here. Does that make sense to you? Yes. All right. So if I am on the soccer field, is there a culture that's present on the soccer field during a game? Right? What's that culture like? How does it feel? What do you hear? Yes, sounds, smells, yes. Now, is that the same culture when you walk into a library? No, right? Now, for me, it is because I've never had a quiet voice like this is. They're like, oh, use your inside voice. This is my inside voice. So I've always had an issue because I've never had an inside voice, right? So sometimes, I get in trouble a lot of places. But it encompasses all of these things, like ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your socioeconomic status, and oftentimes we only think about culture as those surface level things that we can see. I like to call those things fun, food, and fiesta, things that really doesn't take a lot of effort to get to know people. So what I want to do today with you all, at your tables, you have a stack of cards. They're pictured cards in a Ziploc baggie. And they look like this. I want you all to take 2 minutes, and we're going to do a culture sort activity. And I want you to sort these into 2 different piles. Surface level culture and deep culture. So surface level are things that you can see, things that are easy to identify about someone. And deep culture are things that you cannot see just by looking at someone. Okay? So this is the iceberg concept of culture. It talks about how some things are just surface level, which I call fun, food, and fiesta. Other things are shallow culture, and then we have deep culture, all right? Like, how do we problem solve? How do we work together? For some students, working together is natural. Some of your players, some of our kids in the classroom, working together comes natural because in their family, they have great kinship ties, right? And in other cultures, some of our players have a hard time working together because they come from individualistic cultures, right? So we need to understand where are our players coming from, what type of culture, subculture identities they have to make sure that we're meeting them, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go into some deeper things because I eventually wanna talk about the construction of race. So let's talk about ethnicity. Ethnicity is different from race. Ethnicity is like if you ever take the Ancestry.com test, and they tell you where you're from, they're looking at your linguistic and your ancestral heritage. So at some point, you needed these genetic markers to survive in this part of the world, and that is your ethnicity. It is different from your race. Your race is the box that you feel comfortable checking. No one can tell you that you belong to one race, and no one can tell you that you don't belong to any other race, okay? So it's the box that how you perceive yourself. And lastly, your nationality is your place of origin. But I want to unpack race, and I want us to do an activity with this one as well. So during the 20th century, we did a lot of research about race because they try to say race was tied to athleticism, right? Race is tied to intelligence. And they did a lot of research and found that we cannot find any genetic markers that can distinguish one group of people from another group of people. All right, you may have common genetic markers from where you used to live, but there's nothing that could say you're all of this and none of that. So they found that there's only one race. What race is that? The human race. So what I want you to do, if we know that biologically there's no difference between me and you, what you see are the expressions of our genes, phenotypes. And even in families, in my family, I have 10 brothers and sisters, and we have different skin colors, eye color, hair texture, right? Part of it is because like my mom and dad got remarried and then they like kept having kids after. So that has a lot to do with it as well. But even with the siblings where we do share the same mom and dad, we still have a mixture, right, of skin color, everything, because you're seeing the expressions of our genes. Right. So now this is my favorite topic. You see, I'm like getting ready to swirl. Like this is my favorite topic right here. All right, because this one right here makes everyone uncomfortable. Because we always hear about what type of privilege? Say it with me. White privilege, right? All right, we always hear about white privilege as if that is the only privilege that exists. But it's not. All right? And I'm here to tell you about other privilege, and I'm here to explain privilege to you. So privilege is, in the media, it's looked at, oh, it's something I should be ashamed of. It's something that was handed to me, and I need to be ashamed of it. No, privilege is a special advantage or a right or immunity that's granted to a specific group of people. Now, I have a couple of privileges, but I'll only name two to save us time today. I have the privilege of being extremely educated as it pertains to STEM, as it pertains to critical race theory. That is my privilege. That means that I can talk about race, class, gender, and I can talk about STEM, and I can help kids learn, right? That is my privilege. I also have the privilege of being drop dead gorgeous. So that also helps me as well. So sometimes I don't have to pay. Like last night, I went to Penn Social, and I didn't pay for anything. I had some honey Obey wings. I'm not gonna tell you how many drinks I had. I had a couple of drinks. I had a lobster roll, and I didn't pay for anything last night. And it's because I am drop dead gorgeous. At least that's what my daddy tells me. All right, so you got to take it up with him if you don't believe me. All right, but should I be ashamed of being drop dead gorgeous? No. Should I be ashamed of my degrees? No. But sometimes we need to recognize when we are in situations where our privilege can help others. It doesn't mean that you have to feel ashamed about your privilege, but it means that sometimes you can check your privilege. For example, I didn't realize I had privilege until I was sitting in a parent conference meeting. Now, I don't have any biological kids, but for those of you that have kids, you know that when you get called in for a parent conference, it's about 8 adults in that room telling you about your one baby, and you're being attacked by 8 different adults, right? It is a threatening process. And I sat there one day and I realized, why is it taking 8 adults to tell this parent about their child? And they're using all these words that this parent has no idea what they're saying. They're talking all these languages. So sometimes you're trying to explain stuff to your families and you're using words that they've never heard of before, right? So that means that when you recognize that that's happening, if your goal is to make sure that you're impacting your players to make sure that you get the best outcome, not just for them on that field, but in life, then that means that you need to be able to speak to your community in a manner that they understand, right? All right, so check your privilege. Don't be ashamed of your privilege, but check your privilege, because there are times when you will realize that some people don't understand what you're saying because we come from different subcultures, right? All right, so I want to do this activity. Now, it's called the privilege walk. Raise your hand if you've ever done a privilege walk. All right, a few of you. Okay, so this is going to be fun. All right, so let me give you the rules because we always break the rules, and that's okay because I'm going to call you out when you do it. So what you're going to do is we're going to make a straight line, but not really because it's a lot of us in here, so we're going to make some kind of line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to name a couple of privileges that you may or may not have realized that you had. I'm also going to name some disadvantages because there are things that happen to us in life that sets us back that we may or may not be responsible for. And what I want you to do is when I call the privilege, for example, if you are right-handed, take one step forward. So when I say that, you're going to move forward. The first thing everybody does is look to the left and look to the right. It's not a competition, everyone. There's no race. You're not going to get any money. It's not about who can get the most privileges. And then the second disclaimer is that if you don't feel comfortable answering that question, like you don't want everybody to know that you're a left-handed person, you can stand right there. All right, this isn't about anyone else. It's only about you. What is being responsive? Being there, listening, being proactive, and what is coaching? Teaching, right? All right, so culturally responsive coaching is teaching and being responsive to the different cultures that you have, okay? All right, so my last thought, and if you don't get nothing else from me today, I need you to understand this part right here. Our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at the very least, don't hurt them, okay? Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you.